Chapter 3345. Fragmentary Element Immortal Emperor, Ji Yunyan. Among the titled celestial emperors present on the scene, only Meng Chuan and the Soaring Celestial Emperor had seen him before. Moreover, the Soaring Celestial Emperor had seen Ji Yunyan with his golden dragon mask. Because of this, Immortal Emperor Ling Kong only felt that Ji Yunyan looked familiar, but couldn't remember where he had seen him before. It was only when the elegant and beautiful woman beside Ji Yunyan spoke up that he recognized Ji Yunyan. When he recognized Ji Yunyan, the explosive flame Immortal Emperor attacked Ji Yunyan furiously. Although he wanted to stop the explosive flame Immortal Emperor, he was one step too late, and the explosive flame Immortal Emperor was killed by Ji Yunyan. He's the fragmentary element Immortal Emperor, Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Wuxia Heaven's Dragons. I've long heard of the fragmentary element Celestial Emperor. Now that I've met him in person, it seems like he really lives up to his reputation. The explosive flame Celestial Emperor is a powerful titled Celestial Emperor under the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. But he's nothing compared to the fragmentary element Celestial Emperor. Too strong. Apart from Meng Chuan and the Ling Kong Celestial Emperor, the other titled Celestial Emperors present on the scene had only heard of Ji Yunyan. At this moment, the eyes of the few titled Celestial Emperors, including Pei Yuanji, lit up. Ji Yunyan's arrival was beyond their expectations. However, after Ji Yunyan showed up and attacked, they realized something. Ji Yunyan was a friend, not an enemy. Elder Ji, Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace, looked at Ji Yunyan with an unsightly expression. The explosive flame Celestial Emperor, the Soaring Celestial Emperor, and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor were all sent by his grandfather, the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. But now, the explosive flame Immortal Emperor was killed by this person. The explosive flame Celestial Emperor was sent by my grandfather to help me deal with these fugitives. Why did you kill him? Shouldn't you give an explanation? Yu Fengyu's tone became increasingly gloomy as he spoke. Others were afraid of Ji Yunyan's strength, but he wasn't. Just like how he didn't dare to kill Meng Chuan, Ji Yunyan didn't dare to touch him easily, because he had Heavenly Arch Boundless behind him. As for the exploding flame Immortal Emperor, he knew that Ji Yunyan only dared to kill him, because he thought the exploding flame Immortal Emperor was not important in the eyes of his grandfather. However, even though he knew what was going on, he still questioned Ji Yunyan. After all, morale was very important at this time. It was not difficult to notice that both the Soaring Celestial Emperor and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor were thinking of retreating after the explosive flame Celestial Emperor was killed by Ji Yunyan. You want an explanation? Ji Yunyan glanced at Yu Fengyu indifferently and said, I'm afraid you're not qualified to talk to me, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace. If your grandfather comes here personally, I might be able to give him an explanation. In other words, Elder Ji, you intend to make an enemy out of the Heavenly Pool Palace and the Heavenly Palace of the Boundless Heaven? Yu Fengyu didn't expect Ji Yunyan to not give him any face. His expression became extremely ugly, and his eyes shot out waves of coldness, like knives and swords. If looks could kill, Ji Yunyan would have been killed countless times by Yu Fengyu. It's fine if you think so, Ji Yunyan said nonchalantly, completely ignoring the threat in Yu Fengyu's words. Yu Fengyu was so angry that he almost vomited blood. At the same time, he could only send a message to his grandfather, the Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven. The Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven had only sent the Soaring Celestial Emperor, the Water Staff Celestial Emperor, and the Explosive Flame Celestial Emperor, because he felt the three of them were enough to help his grandson. He did not expect Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Dragons of the Wuxia Heaven, would come as well. Ji Yunyan doesn't give me any face at all? I'll go over. The Heavenly Emperor of the Boundless Heaven's tone darkened when he learned about Ji Yunyan's brazenness. Yu Fengyu's eyes lit up when he heard his grandfather was coming. Elder Ji, my grandfather will be here soon. Do you want to wait for him or run away like a rat before he arrives? Yu Fengyu asked meaningfully as he looked at Ji Yunyan with a piercing gaze. As soon as Yu Fengyu finished speaking, Ji Yunyan's expression darkened slightly. Then, in just a blink of an eye, he appeared in front of Yu. Bang! While Yu was using his power to defend himself, Ji Yunyan's power was even stronger. The violent spatial power easily destroyed Yu's power and landed on Yu's chest, sending him flying. Blurg! Yu was sent flying like an arrow. Blood spurted out of his mouth as he flew for nearly 100 meters before he finally came to a stop. Palace Master. The expressions of the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled celestial emperors changed drastically when they saw Yu was severely injured. They glared at Yu with a hint of dread in their eyes. Ji Yunyan looked at Yu indifferently as he said, "So many years have passed, but you haven't improved at all. Even that little girl is much stronger than you." As soon as Ji Yunyan finished speaking, he turned to look at the woman standing nearby. She was none other than Su Yasi. Based on Ji Yunyan's words, it was obvious he had been watching from above the clouds all this while. "What? You want to spar with me?" Ji Yunyan glanced at the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled celestial emperors and said indifferently, "If you want to come at me together." Ji Yunyan was indeed arrogant. However, based on the Heavenly Pool Palace's titled celestial emperors looking at each other, it was not difficult to tell that Ji Yunyan was arrogant. After all, he had the right to be arrogant. "Huh." Ji Yunyan suddenly turned to look at Yang Xiaotian. "No wonder I thought you looked familiar. Aren't you the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor, the Three-Eyed Celestial Emperor? Since when did a little wolf like you come to the Heavenly Pool Palace? Why didn't you obediently follow the Three-Eyed Celestial Emperor and come to the Heavenly Pool Palace?" Ji Yunyan shook his head when he finished speaking. "Senior Ji, the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor was not angered by Ji Yunyan's reprimand. Instead, he said awkwardly, I had a little conflict with my big brother, so I came out to relax." A hint of fear could be seen in the depths of the Howling Heaven Celestial Emperor's eyes when he looked at Ji Yunyan. He had met Ji Yunyan a few times in the past. Naturally, he had met Ji Yunyan with his big brother Yang Jian. Yang Jian had looked for Ji Yunyan to spar with him. In the beginning, he was defeated by Ji Yunyan. It was only recently that Ji Yunyan managed to turn the tables around and end up in a tie with Ji Yunyan. After all, Ji Yunyan was not any weaker than his big brother, Yang Jian. Yes. Ji Yunyan nodded slightly. Elder Ji. At this moment, Yu finally recovered from his injuries. He looked at Ji Yunyan from afar and asked in a deep voice, "Why are you interfering in the Heavenly Pool Palace's business?" "You'll have to ask the three little fellows next to me," Ji Yunyan said indifferently. When he said the word little guy, his tone became much gentler. It was as if he was a completely different person from his previous domineering attitude. Everyone, including Yu and Duan Lingtian, shifted their attention to the three young men standing behind the beautiful woman. Haha. Meanwhile, the beautiful eyes of the young woman in golden clothes spun mischievously as she grinned at the other two. "Little black, little white, I told the two of you long ago. Big brother Ling Tian definitely won't be able to recognize us. Am I right?" "All right, you win," the young woman dressed in white said helplessly, because the current atmosphere was a little quiet. Even though the voices of the two were not loud, it was still clearly transmitted to the ears of everyone present. Everyone, including Pei Yuanji and Yu, shifted their attention to Duan Lingtian. Earlier, when the young woman dressed in golden robes mentioned brother Ling Tian, there was only one person present whose name was Ling Tian. Little black, little white. However, at this moment, Duan Ling Tian completely turned a deaf ear to everyone's gazes. This was because he was also shocked by the words of the two young women before him. Little black, little white. How familiar and affectionate they were. When Duan Lingtian looked at the three young men standing in front of him, a thought flashed in his mind. Is it them? They've grown so big? In his memory, although the three little fellows had transformed into humans, they still looked like children. However, the three young men standing in front of him looked like they were about the same age as him. Besides that, he'd felt that these three people were slightly familiar earlier, but he just couldn't figure out why they were familiar. Yet now he'd completely recovered from his shock. It turned out that these three people were the two little pythons and the little gold mouse from all those years ago. Brother Ling Tian. The young man in black clothes with a cold expression was the first to fly forward and arrive before Duan Ling Tian. He squeezed out a smile on his face, and his originally cold and indifferent eyes became extremely gentle as his body slightly trembled. Little Black? Duan Ling Tian asked tentatively as he sized up the black-clad young man who was as tall as him. Although he could vaguely confirm the other party's identity, he was still in a daze. It's me. When the black-clad young man heard Duan Ling Tian calling him Little Black, his eyes lit up immediately. Then, he lost his composure and stepped forward. Both of his hands were frozen in midair, as his body trembled violently from excitement. It turned into a pair of gentle eyes, and faint tears rolled down his cheeks. Haha, Little Black, it's really you. Duan Ling Tian stepped forward and hugged Little Black naturally. Both of them hugged each other tightly like brothers who had not seen each other for a long time. Looking at the excitement in Duan Ling Tian's eyes, it was obvious he could not control his emotions. It had been 200 years. He had not seen Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold for more than 200 years. The three of them had grown up. Chapter 3346. When he was young, Duan Ling Tian had already met Little Black and Little White. At that time, they were just two special little pythons. Later on, after a few transformations, they had all taken human form. After that, they mysteriously disappeared with Little Gold in the Beyond Heaven secret zone in the mundane realm. After that, Duan Ling Tian did not have any news about them. Sometimes, he even wondered if they had met with misfortune. Every time, he did not dare to think about it. As for Little Gold, she was also a little golden mouse that he had met when he was young. She had accompanied him for a long time. Brother Ling Tian. When Duan Ling Tian and Little Black had just separated, a golden figure rushed over and threw herself into Duan Ling Tian's arms. It was the young woman in golden clothes. Haha, Little Gold has become a big girl. Duan Ling Tian laughed. At the same time, he could clearly feel Little Gold's excitement and saw the tears flowing down her face. He quickly patted her back and comforted her. Silly girl, it's good to be reunited. Don't cry, don't cry. Little Gold, are you done hugging? At this moment, the white-clad young woman who seemed calm and elegant suddenly frowned when she saw Little Gold hugging Duan Ling Tian for a long time without letting go. She seemed a little displeased when she saw Little Gold hugging Duan Ling Tian tightly. What? Do you want to hug Brother Ling Tian too? If you don't want to hug him, I won't let you hug him. Little Gold laughed when she heard Little White's voice. She made a face at Little White and hugged Duan Ling Tian even harder. Humph. Little White snorted and pushed Little Gold away. She took half of Duan Ling Tian's arms and leaned her head on Duan Ling Tian's chest. Tears flowed down her face involuntarily. Brother Ling Tian, Little White missed you so much. I finally found you. Even the fourth elder of the dragon clan couldn't help but sigh as he looked at the beautiful woman standing not far away. This was the first time she had seen Little White like this. All along, Xiaobai had been very sensible, independent and bright in front of her. Not to mention shedding tears, even the slightest bit of emotion was rare. Only then did she know that Little White still had one more year. It was to the extent that even Blackie, who was usually cold, lost his composure in front of this purple-clothed young man. It was the same for the mischievous Xiao Jin. No wonder Little Black and Little White insisted on being surnamed Duan instead of Ji like the rest of the clan. So it was all because of this young man. Currently, Ji Ningyan also knew that the purple-clad young man whom the three little fellows missed so much was Duan Ling Tian. The reason why the three of them had the surname Duan was most likely because of him. Yinner, take them away. At this moment, the fragmentary element celestial emperor, Ji Yunyan, the first elder of the dragons, said bluntly to Ji Ningyan, I'll stay and wait for the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. Speaking of which, I haven't seen that old friend of mine for many years. When I'm done catching up with my old friends, I'll look for you, Ji Yunyan said. All right, Ji Ningyan replied as she looked at the three little fellows and Duan Ling Tian. If you want to catch up, let's go somewhere else. Don't disturb the old man from catching up with the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven. After she spoke, Ji Ningyan did not seem to have done anything, but a pure and holy white energy was like the dawn that suddenly lit up in the darkness. Once it appeared, it seemed to cause all things in the surroundings to fade. Let's go. Ji Ningyan cried out before the pure white energy wrapped around Duan Lingtian and the others and brought them away. Senior, please bring Senior Lianxiu with you. Duan Lingtian looked at Ji Ningyan respectfully before he turned to look at Lianxiu in the distance. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Ji Ningyan's energy swept out again and brought Lianxiu with her. Lianxiu thanked Ji Ningyan profusely. Thank you, Senior. Brother Pei, all of you should leave as well. Duan Lingtian said loudly to Pei Yuanji. As soon as he finished speaking, Pei Yuanji and the other 5 titled celestial emperors, who were imprisoned in the Thousand Chains prison, made their moves and left the Thousand Chains prison. From the beginning until the end, the group of titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace could only watch helplessly. Of course, when they glanced at the figure in dark golden robes standing not far away from them from the corner of their eyes, waves of intense fear appeared on their faces at the same time. Similarly, the Soaring Celestial Emperor and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor did not dare to make a move. Damn it! I can't believe Duan Lingtian managed to escape. Lei Ying's expression was extremely unsightly. She did not expect Duan Lingtian would be able to escape under such circumstances. Her eyes were filled with hatred as she looked at Ji Yunian. Naturally, she only dared to show her hatred when Ji Yunian was not looking at her. If Ji Yunian looked at her now, she could only lower her head and hide her hatred. With Ji Yunian's strength, even if she was at her peak, she would still die if she fought him, let alone when she was heavily injured. Moreover, Ji Yunian only needed a thought to kill her with his domineering spatial energy. Ji Yunian's mastery of the law of space was comparable to some heavenly emperors who were skilled in the law of space. Moreover, he could even revert to his true form as a 9-clawed divine dragon. Even if he fought the weakest heavenly emperors in the Devata realms, he would still be able to defeat them. In just a few moments, no matter if it was Duan Lingtian, Pei Yuanji, or Duan Lingtian, they had already left. Meanwhile, Yu Fengyu, the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace and Mengchang Celestial Emperor, had been recovering from his injuries. After about 15 minutes, he looked at Ji Yunian with an unsightly expression on his face. Elder Ji, it's one thing for you to protect Duan Lingtian, but why do you have to meddle in other people's business as well? Especially Pei Yuanji, the Nirvanic Celestial Emperor. My grandfather was the one who imprisoned him in the Thousand Chains prison. Are you trying to offend my grandfather by letting him go? Yu Fengyu asked in a deep voice. Upon hearing Yu Fengyu's words, Ji Yunian glanced at Yu Fengyu indifferently and said, I only showed up to save Duan Lingtian. What does the others have to do with me? Naturally, it's fine if you think of it as me saving them. Ji Yunian's expression was indifferent when he finished speaking. Upon hearing Ji Yunian's words, the titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace were infuriated. Based on Ji Yunian's words, it seemed like he did not intend to protect the others. However, 15 minutes had already passed. Even if they wanted to chase after the others, it was already too late. It was impossible for them to catch up. The 4th elder of the dragons, the condensing cloud celestial emperor? Although Duan Lingtian had guessed the beautiful woman was a titled celestial emperor when she brought him, Little Black, Little White, Little Gold, and Lianxiu away, he did not expect her to be a titled celestial emperor. He did not expect her to be the 4th elder of the dragons. Although the dragons of the 10,000 beasts heaven were on par with the Heavenly Pool Palace of the Boundless Heavenly Pool, and the Heavenly Sword Mountain of the Solitary Destructive Heavenly Pool, they were much stronger than the Heavenly Pool Palace of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. In fact, even 10 heaven-grade forces like the Heavenly Pool Palace and the Heavenly Sword Mountain would not be a match for one of the dragons. The dragons were one of the strongest heaven-grade forces in the Devata realms. Even the heavenly emperors of ordinary Devata realms would not dare to provoke the dragons. There were more than a dozen titled celestial emperors among the dragons. Moreover, the weakest titled celestial emperor was on par with Su Lang Duan Lingtian's teacher in the Heavenly Pool Palace. In fact, they might even be stronger than Su. After all, titled celestial emperors among the dragons were capable of transforming into 9-clawed divine dragons. Most importantly, there was one more thing. Rumor had it that one of the heavenly emperors in the Devata realms was also a member of the dragons. Although the heavenly emperor had established his own heavenly palace, he was still a member of the heavenly emperor palace. However, if something happened to the dragons, he would not let the matter rest. Moreover, in terms of strength, the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven was ranked in the upper middle tier among the heavenly emperors in the Devata realms, whereas the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven was ranked in the lower middle tier among the heavenly emperors. Brother Ling Tian, let's go to the Thousand Tribulations Sword Sect. I heard Sister Huaner is with you. Where is she? Little Gold asked curiously. She's waiting for me in the Saint Province realm. Duan Lingtian smiled. Senior Lianqiu is Huaner's father. Then, Duan Lingtian turned to Lianqiu and introduced his 3 grown children to Lianqiu. Senior Lianqiu, they're my younger siblings. I've known them since I was a teenager in the mundane realm. All right. Lianqiu smiled. Since his wife was a phantom fox, he had a special fondness for celestial beasts. Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold. What happened to you in the Saint Province realms beyond Heaven's secret zone? Duan Lingtian asked curiously. Back then, the 3 little fellows had entered the Beyond Heaven secret zone to look for him. However, after he left, they did not come out. Since then there had been no news of them. Brother Ling Tian, at that time, we were taken to the 10,000 Beasts Heaven, Little White said. Xiaobai began to recount everything that had happened back then. She said that she and Xiao He had gone to the Dragon Tribe, and Xiao Jin had gone to the Blood Moon Ridge. She also told Duan Ling Tian about their experiences over the years. We thought we were stronger than you, Brother Ling Tian, but today we realized we're still weaker than you. Little Gold smiled bitterly. Earlier, Ji Yunyan, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's Heaven Secret Zone, had been hiding in the clouds to watch the battle. Therefore, they had witnessed how Duan Ling Tian defeated a titled celestial emperor. Since they were too far away, even if Duan Ling Tian had used the 5 divine elements' power, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's Heaven Secret Zone, Ji Yunyan would not be able to detect it. For this reason, Duan Ling Tian was not worried about the 5 divine elements in his body being exposed when he heard Little Gold's words. Fortunately, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's Heaven Secret Zone intervened in time. Otherwise, I would have used the 5 divine elements' power. Duan Ling Tian still felt a lingering fear when he recalled the battle with the Soaring Celestial Emperor, the Explosive Flame Celestial Emperor, and the Water Staff Celestial Emperor. In the Hall of Literature. Chapter 3347. Earlier, Duan Ling Tian was so close to revealing the power of the 5 divine elements to the titled celestial emperors. Once the 5 divine elements were exposed, Duan Ling Tian would become a rare treasure in the eyes of the titled celestial emperors. After all, there was no one who did not want the 5 divine elements. Even if the 5 divine elements were low grade, they would be able to increase the chances of a titled celestial emperor who had comprehended the laws of the 5 divine elements to become a god. Becoming a god was the dream of every titled celestial emperor. In the Devata realms, only a handful of heavenly emperors who stood at the peak of the Devata realms managed to become gods. Based on this, many people, including the heavenly emperors of the Devata realms, would go crazy if the 5 divine elements were exposed. At that time, Duan Ling Tian would become everyone's enemy in every Devata realm. Brother Ling Tian, where's Sister Kerr and Sister Fei? Did you ascend with them? Little Gold asked curiously. Kerr, Fei? Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Ling Tian fell silent for a moment before a hint of resentment flashed in his eyes. They didn't ascend with me. In fact, they're not even in the Devata realms. They're not in the Devata realms? Little Gold frowned. That's impossible. Little Black, Little White. And I returned to the Saint Province realm. However, we didn't find you. Brother Ling Tian, Sister Kerr, and Sister Fei are in the Saint Province realm. At this moment Little Black and Little White also turned to look at Duan Lingtian. There in the divine offering land, one of the realms of gods. Duan Lingtian replied in a low voice. Realms of gods? Divine offering land? Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, Little Gold, Little White, and Little Black frowned slightly. They had more or less heard of the realms of gods, but they had never heard of the divine offering land. Even Ji Ningyun, the fourth elder of the dragons, turned her attention to Duan Lingtian. After all, even she had to look up to the plane of gods. Brother Lingtian, why are Sister Kerr and Sister Fei in a realm of gods? Little White asked doubtfully. Little White, Little Gold, and Little Black had left the mundane realm before Yin Qingyan brought Kerr, Li Fei, and the others to the divine offering land. Because of this, they did not know what happened later. Faced with Little White's doubts, Duan Lingtian took a deep breath and explained everything in detail. After so many years, Duan Lingtian's eyes were still burning with rage when he mentioned the past buried in the depths of his heart. His body couldn't help but tremble slightly because of his anger. The Yin family of the world of divine remains? Ji Ningyun, the fourth elder of the dragons, could not help but gasp when she heard Duan Lingtian's words. Senior, do you know about the Yin family of the world of divine remains? At the same time, Little Gold asked Ji Ningyun in confusion. Flames of anger burned in the depths of her eyes. She did not expect Sister Kerr, Sister Fei, and her little nephew and niece would be forcefully taken to the divine offering land by someone called Yin Qingyan. If possible, she would have helped Ling Tian to save Sister Kerr, Sister Fei, and the others from the divine offering land. I know a little, Ji Ningyun said solemnly. The Yin family is considered a big family in the divine offering land. Not only that, but they're also very powerful. Any elder in the Yin family is a god with extraordinary strength. Even an ordinary servant in the Yin clan, or a young disciple, with outstanding innate talent, is a titled celestial emperor. Moreover, they're not ordinary titled celestial emperors. Although they didn't go to the title temple to obtain a title, they're stronger than most titled celestial emperors. Ji Ningyun said. Duan Lingtian was naturally aware of Ji Ningyun's words. After all, Senior Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, was forced to enter the Azura Hell, one of the 7 deadliest places in the Devata realms, by a servant of the Yin family. As it turns out, the person who forced Feng Qingyang into the Azura Hell was from the Yin family of the divine offering land. Moreover, it was because of you. Ji Ningyun sighed as she looked at Duan Lingtian. I didn't expect Senior Feng Qingyang would be implicated as well. Duan Lingtian smiled wryly. However, I didn't expect you to be Feng Qingyang's successor in the mundane realm. As far as I know, he doesn't have any formal disciples. He doesn't even have half a formal disciple like you. Ji Ningyun looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. Why didn't you go to the solitary destructive heaven to look for him? I only learned about Senior Feng Qingyang's safe return from the Azura Hell, and regained his position as the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. However, at that time, I thought I was only his successor in the mundane realms. Perhaps he had other successors in the Devata realms and other mundane realms as well. Therefore, I thought I might be rejected if I went there recklessly. Duan Lingtian smiled awkwardly. Shut the door. You're thinking too much. Ji Ningyun shook her head and said, Feng Qingyang is arrogant and aloof in front of those he's not close to. However, he's very kind to those he's close to. Back then, he had a battle with the patriarch of the Dragon's clan, and they became good friends. Later on, when the patriarch came to him for help, he agreed to help without any hesitation. Ji Ningyun looked at Duan Lingtian and continued to say, based on his character, he'll definitely acknowledge you as his successor. Lord Heavenly Emperor's successor? Lian Qiu, who was standing at the side, was shocked by Duan Lingtian's words. In his opinion, Duan Lingtian was already his future son-in-law. However, he did not expect Duan Lingtian to have such a close relationship with the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. At this moment, he felt his daughter had found a treasure. Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven, was like a god to Lian Qiu. a disciple from the heavenly sword mountain. In fact, most of the sword celestials in the solitary destructive heaven regarded Feng Qingyang as a god. Unfortunately, even Senior Meng Chuan can't contact him. Duan Lingtian smiled bitterly. Meng Chuan. No wonder I thought the person fighting the palace master of the Heavenly Pool Palace looked familiar. As it turns out, he's Meng Chuan, the Jade Rainbow Celestial Emperor under Feng Qingyang. He's the younger brother of the Heavenly Savage Celestial Emperor, Meng Luo. Realization dawned on Ji Ningyun as she asked. Since Meng Chuan can help you, why didn't you ask the other titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven? If there were enough titled celestial emperors, you wouldn't have to fight the heavenly pool palace. You could have killed your way out before the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven appeared. Ji Ningyun could not help but feel puzzled when she finished speaking. Based on Senior Meng Chuan's words, he can't contact Senior Feng Qingyang or his elder brother. It seems like he's not sure how important I am to Senior Feng Qingyang. That's why he can't ask the other titled celestial emperors from the heavenly palace of the solitary destructive heaven to help him. Duan Lingtian explained Meng Chuan's purpose in coming here today was to keep you Feng Yu, the palace master of the heavenly pool palace, busy. I see. Ji Ningyun nodded. Brother Lingtian, there are still more than 700 years before the passage between the Devata realms and the realms of gods opens. With our current strength, we might be able to kill our way into the world of divine offering and rescue Big Sister Kur and Big Sister Fair after 700 years. Little White comforted Duan Lingtian. Although Blackie did not say anything, his eyes flashed coldly when Xiao Bai mentioned the divine offering land. A wave of killing intent rose in the air. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded with a smile. I've already survived for more than 200 years. 700 years won't make much of a difference. I just hope they'll have a good life in the divine offering land. A hint of worry could be seen in the depths of Duan Lingtian's eyes when he spoke. Brother Lingtian. Little Gold could see Duan Lingtian's worry, so she changed the topic and asked with a smile. Tell us about Sister Huaner. How did you meet her? This time, you've risked your life for her. In addition to deliberately changing the topic, Xiao Jin was also quite curious about this. Duan Lingtian seemed to be in a daze as he said, we met 200 years ago. Then he told Little Gold about how he met Huaner. Lian Qiu smiled wryly as he said, it's all because of me. If I wasn't imprisoned by the heavenly pool palace, Xianer wouldn't have come looking for me. Otherwise, Huaner wouldn't have been abandoned. It's fortunate she met you. It seems like Xian wasn't lying to me when she told me that she had sought the help of an elder in the Phantom Fox clan, who could foresee the heavenly secrets of her clan. Lian Qiu said. In Lian Qiu's opinion, Duan Lingtian was Huaner's savior. Senior Lian Qiu, I'll return to the Saint Province realm with you, Duan Lingtian said to Lian Qiu. Then, he looked at Little Gold, and Little White before he asked, do you three want to return to the Saint Province realm with us or return to the 10,000 Beasts heaven? Brother Lingtian, we'll return with you. We'd like to meet Sister Huaner as well, Little Gold said with a smile. Duan Lingtian nodded. Little White and Little Black did not reply. Instead they looked at Ji Ningyun. It's rare for all of you to reunite. Why don't you return to the Saint Province realm with us? I'd like to visit Little White and Little Black's hometown as well. Ji Ningyun smiled. Senior. Duan Lingtian suddenly remembered something. He looked at Ji Ningyun and asked solemnly, Senior Ji Yunyan is there. Will he be fine when the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven arrives? Although the dragons had a powerful background and were supported by a heavenly emperor, Duan Lingtian was the grand elder of the boundless heaven. As the grand elder of the dragons, Ji Yunyan had a high status among the dragons. If something happened to Ji Yunyan, the dragons would definitely stand up for him. However, the heavenly emperor, who had left the dragons, might not make a move. In the Hall of Literature. Chapter 3348. Ji Ningyun was taken aback when she heard Duan Lingtian's question. Little White and Little Gold, on the other hand, could not help but laugh. Even Xiao He had a faint smile on his face. It was apparent the three little fellows were laughing because of Duan Ling Tian's question to Ji Ningyan. What's wrong? This time, it was Duan Ling Tian's turn to be slightly puzzled. Was there a problem with his earlier question? Brother Ling Tian, Little Gold asked with a smile. Do you know there's a heavenly emperor among the dragons who's now a heavenly emperor of a Devata realm? I've heard of it. Duan Ling Tian nodded. With this in mind, he was certain the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven would not dare to offend the dragon clan. However, that did not mean the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven would not dare to provoke the dragons, the grand elder of the dragons. The relationship between the dragon clan and the heavenly emperor who left the dragon clan was naturally close. The latter would definitely not easily watch the dragon clan be bullied. However, the great elder of the dragon clan, Ji Yunyan, and the heavenly emperor who left the dragon clan might not care. Then, do you know the relationship between the heavenly emperor and Ji Yunyan? Little Gold asked again. Duan Lingtian shook his head and asked, is it possible that Elder Ji Yunyan is closely related to the heavenly emperor of the dragons? Elder Ji Yunyan is a direct descendant of the heavenly emperor. He's Senior Ji Yunyan's great-grandfather. Little Gold smiled and said, moreover, when Elder Ji Yunyan was very young, he was brought to his great-grandfather's heavenly palace and stayed there for 1,000 years. That's how he became what he is today. Even if Elder Ji Yunyan is not as strong as the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven, do you think he would dare to provoke Senior Ji Yunyan? In the circle of heavenly emperors, the relationship between Elder Ji Yunyan and the heavenly emperor is not a secret. Xiao Jin finished in one breath. After hearing Xiao Jin's explanation, Duan Lingtian came to a realization. At the same time, he finally understood why the fourth elder of the dragons wasn't worried about her husband's safety at all. Apart from that, the first elder of the dragons, Ji Yunyan, had a fearless expression on his face when he learned that the boundless heaven's heavenly emperor was coming. It turned out that the great elder of the dragons had such a backer. You worried for nothing, Duan Lingtian thought to himself. Of course, Duan Lingtian was very grateful to the first elder of the dragons. Not only had he saved him, but he had also saved Senior Lian Qiu, Big Brother Pei Yuanji, and the others. Big Brother Pei Yuanji. Upon thinking about the others, Duan Lingtian immediately contacted Pei Yuanji. We're planning to return to the Saint Province realm. Do you want to go with us to see Huana? Back when he was still in the Thousand Chains prison, he had already exchanged soul orbs with Pei Yuanji, so they could communicate directly. I'm not going, Pei Yuanji replied through voice transmission. Since Du Xian has come out, I'll be able to answer to her. I'll continue on my path. I hope we'll meet again in the future. Pei Yuanji nodded. We will. After replying, Duan Lingtian sent a voice transmission to Meng Chuan. Senior Meng Chuan, have you left? Earlier, when they left with Pei Yuanji and the others, Duan Lingtian saw the Jade Rainbow Immortal Emperor, Meng Chuan, still there. I just left. Meng Chuan replied through voice transmission. I don't want to stay there and be a punching bag. A punching bag? Duan Lingtian was stunned. When the heavenly emperor of the boundless heaven arrives, he won't be able to do anything to Ji Yunyan. At that time, I'm afraid he'll vent all his anger on me. Although he definitely won't dare to kill me, it won't be a problem for him to torture me. So, I'd better take advantage of the fact that that old man hasn't arrived yet and leave first. Meng Chuan smiled. Upon hearing Meng Chuan's words, Duan Lingtian could not help but fall silent. Indeed, Senior Meng Chuan's plan was very thorough. Duan Lingtian, I didn't expect you'd be able to get the Grand Elder of the Dragons to help you. If I knew he'd help you, I wouldn't have stayed in the Heavenly Pool Palace. Meng Chuan sighed. I didn't expect it either. Duan Lingtian said. Similarly, I didn't expect Ji Yunyan to come. Alright, I'll see you next time. When the Heavenly Emperor returns, I'll mention you to him. If he wants to see you, I'll bring you to the boundless heaven. Meng Chuan said. You'll still be in the boundless heaven, right? Communication celestial talismans could only be used to send messages within the same Devata realm. Even the best communication celestial talismans could only be used to send messages across different Devata realms. It was impossible to send messages across realms. I'll be in the mundane realm, the Saint Province realm, Senior Feng Qingyang's hometown. As for the boundless heaven, initially, Duanling Tian wanted to say that he would not return to the boundless heaven. However, when he thought about his teacher Su Lang, his senior brothers and senior sisters, especially his eldest senior sister, who had protected him the first time they met, he could not help but hesitate. Would he really not return to the boundless heaven? Under normal circumstances, I won't return to the boundless heaven, Duanling Tian said. Which Devata realm do you plan to go to after leaving the mundane realm? If the Heavenly Emperor wishes to see you, I'll have to find a place to send you a message, right? The 10,000 Beasts Heaven, the Jade Emperor Heaven, the Spirit Overarching Heaven, or the Solitary Destructive Heaven? Duanling Tian replied. If you can't find me in those Devata realms, the mundane realms, or the Saint Province realm, you can look for me in the boundless heaven. Perhaps I'll return to the boundless heaven, Duanling Tian added. The mundane realms, the Saint Province realm, the 10,000 Beasts Heaven, the Jade Emperor Heaven, the Spirit Overarching Heaven, the Solitary Destructive Heaven, the Boundless Heaven. All right, I'll remember that, Meng Chuan replied. Duanling Tian was about to send a message to Su Lang when he remembered he had given Su Lang's soul pearl to someone else before he was sent to the Thousand Chains prison. It seems like I can only contact second senior brother, third senior sister, fourth senior sister, fifth senior brother, and sixth senior brother. When Duanling Tian thought about his senior brothers and senior sisters, who probably did not know the ins and outs of the matter, a bitter smile appeared on his face as he felt slightly guilty. Although he did not intend to use them, even if the Heavenly Pool Palace did not punish them for leaving the Heavenly Pool Palace, they would still be looked down upon by the other Heavenly Pool Palace disciples in the future. After all, there was a traitor among them. After taking a deep breath, Duanling Tian sent a voice transmission to his sixth senior brother, Hong Fei, and his third senior sister, Hu Mei. He was the most familiar with both of them. Third senior sister, please apologize to teacher on my behalf when you see him. Sixth senior brother, please apologize to teacher and eldest senior sister on my behalf when you see them. Whether it was Hu Mei or Hong Fei, they were confused when they received Duanling Tian's voice transmission. Little junior brother, what's wrong? Did something happen? Hu Mei was confused. Little junior brother, what's going on? Hong Fei was confused as well. I'm sure all of you have heard about the prisoners escaping from the Thousand Chains prison, right? Duanling Tian asked through the voice transmission. It had been a while since the incident had happened. Only the 9 titled celestial emperors from the Heavenly Pool Palace were chasing after them. The others must have spread the news. I just heard. It seems that a genius disciple released all the prisoners. Hu Mei replied. Yes, I heard about it. Moreover, someone said that you were the one who released the prisoners. I refuted them. Our eldest senior sister is one of the 3 head wardens of the Thousand Chains prison. Little junior brother, you didn't do it, right? Hong Fei did not seem to care at first. However, when he thought about what Duanling Tian had said earlier, he wondered if he should apologize to their teacher and eldest senior sister. With this thought in mind, Hong Fei hesitated for a moment before he asked. It's me, Duanling Tian replied. Hong Fei fell silent. Meanwhile, Hu Mei also fell silent when she received Duanling Tian's voice transmission. Why? Hu Mei asked. At the same time, her voice became cold and solemn. After listening to Duanling Tian's explanation, Hu Mei fell silent again. After a while, she finally said, Little junior brother, I understand. Third senior sisters. All of you will forever be my senior brothers and senior sisters. In the future, if there's anything that I, Duanling Tian, can help with, I'll definitely do my best to help. Duanling Tian was naturally moved when he heard Hu Mei's words. You'll always be third senior sister's little junior brother. Forever. Hu Mei said. Moreover, I know eldest senior sister's character very well. Since she tried so hard to get you to leave, I'm sure she's just being polite. If she really wanted you to stay, why would she help you? Hu Mei chimed in. I understand. Duanling Tian nodded. Little junior brother, what's going on? Why did you release those prisoners? Hong Fei asked when he regained his senses. 6th senior brother. I've already told 3rd senior sister the ins and outs of the matter. If you want to know, just ask her directly. Now, I'll be leaving the boundless heaven. Don't forget what I told you to do. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, he left the boundless heaven with the 3 little fellows, Lian Xiao and Ji Ningyun, and made their way to the Saint Province realm. The last time he returned to the Saint Province realm, he had returned with Huan Er. However, this time, he returned with the 3 little fellows. This made Duan Lingtian feel very different. Huan Er. Duan Lingtian immediately brought everyone back to his hometown, the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Huan Er was waiting for him in the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Brother Lingtian. Huan Er looked like a peerless beauty who had walked out of a painting, as she threw herself into Duan Lingtian's arms like a gust of wind. The 3 little fellows in Ji Ningyun's eyes lit up when they saw Huan Er. Before this, they could not believe such a peerless beauty existed in this world. Chapter 3349. Although Huan Er did not follow Duan Lingtian to save Lian Xiao and his wife, she still felt a great deal of pressure in her heart. In fact, she had been keeping an eye on Duan Lingtian's soul pearl. If anything happened to brother Lingtian, while he was trying to save her parents, she would die with him. This was the promise she made when Duan Lingtian forced her to stay in the mundane realm. This was her bottom line. Now that she saw Lingtian had returned safely, it was only natural that she was happy. She even forgot about her father, Lian Xiao. Lian Xiao stood at the side and looked at the woman who was hugging Duan Lingtian, with a dazed expression on his face. Xian, do you see this? At this moment, a snow-white phantom fox had appeared in Lian Xiao's arms. The phantom fox's injuries had healed a lot. In fact, it was already able to open its eyes with great effort. When it saw Huan Er hugging the purple-clad young man, its eyes shone with excitement. Huan Er seemed to have sensed the phantom fox's gaze. She left Duan Lingtian's arms and walked up to Lian Xiao. She nodded at Lian Xiao, but she did not address him as father. She looked at the phantom fox in Lian Xiao's arms. Huan Er, is that you? My daughter, is that you? A series of voice transmissions rang in Huan Er's ears. To her, this voice was heavenly. Moreover, it had been more than 200 years since she last heard this voice. Mother, it's me, Huan Er replied. At the same time, her white robes fluttered even though there was no wind. A gigantic phantom fox the size of a small mountain appeared behind her. It looked noble and holy. When the white fox appeared, whether it was Ji Ningyun, Little Black, Little White, or Little Gold, they all clearly sensed the pressure from the depths of their souls. It felt as though the phantom fox was a celestial beast that was more powerful and noble than their true forms. In other words, it was no longer a celestial beast. After all, their true forms were already top immortal beasts among top immortal beasts. This is. Ji Ningyun narrowed her eyes when she saw the white fox's silhouette. She was stunned for a moment before she blurted out, 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox. 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox? Upon hearing Ji Ningyun's words, Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold finally regained their senses. They looked at Huan Er in shock. At the same time, they finally understood why the silhouette behind Huan Er exerted such pressure on them. It turned out to be 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox. Whether it was the Wanshou Heaven's dragons, or the Wanshou Heaven's Blood Moon Ridge, they were both heaven-grade forces with the longest legacies in the Wanshou Heaven. They had deep foundations and strong foundations that other heaven-grade forces like the Boundless Heaven's Heaven Pool Palace and the Solitary Destructive Heaven's Heaven Sword Ridge could not compare to. Because of this, the Dragon Clan and Blood Moon Ridge would impart to them some common knowledge about demon beasts to them when they were not cultivating. This included some divine beasts that had appeared in the history of the Devata realms. For example, there was a 10-clawed divine dragon among the dragons. A 10-clawed divine dragon would appear once every 100,000 years. The 10-clawed divine dragon was a 10-clawed divine dragon. The heavenly emperor of a Devata realm was a 10-clawed divine dragon. He was the only 10-clawed divine dragon in the history of the dragons in the Wanshou Heaven's Blood Moon Ridge. There were also divine beasts in the Blood Moon Ridge. However, Unlike the tin-clawed divine dragon that appeared once every 100,000 years, the appearance of a divine beast in the Blood Moon Ridge depended on luck. Over a long period of time, only one divine beast would appear every several 100,000 years. Sometimes 2 or more divine beasts would appear in the Blood Moon Ridge. In the history of the Blood Moon Ridge, the most famous divine beast was the 9 Depths God-slaying mouse. The current Lord of Blood Moon Ridge was a direct descendant of the 9 Depths God-slaying mouse. Currently, many powerhouses in the Blood Moon Ridge were rat-type celestial beasts. For example, the Lord of Blood Moon Ridge and the Grand Elder of Blood Moon Ridge were rat-type celestial beasts. Due to this reason, Little Gold, who had obtained the legacy blood pool from Blood Moon Ridge in the mundane realm, had undergone an extraordinary transformation and was now a top-tier celestial beast, was treated very well in Blood Moon Ridge. Moreover, the Grand Elder of Blood Moon Ridge treated her like his own granddaughter. The Thousand Phantoms Ice Fox is a divine beast that appears once every 1 million years in the Phantom Fox clan. I didn't expect to see 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox in my lifetime. Ji Ningyun sighed emotionally. Then, she turned to look at Little Black and Little White as she thought to herself. In the history of the Devata realms, the Dragon Clan's tin-clawed divine dragon only appears once every 100,000 years, but the Phantom Fox clan's 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox might not appear. However, if 1,000 Phantoms Ice Fox appears once every 1 million years, a tin-clawed divine dragon would appear as well. It seems like a tin-clawed divine dragon will appear soon. Little Black and Little White have the highest chance of becoming a tin-clawed divine dragon. Who will it be? Ji Ningyun was very curious about this matter. The high-ranking dragons of the 10,000 Beasts Heaven had met more than once. They all agreed that Little Black or Little White had the highest chance of becoming a tin-clawed divine dragon. Both of them had the highest chance of becoming a tin-clawed divine dragon. You're Huaner, right? Let me treat your mother, Ji Ningyun said with a faint smile as she walked up to Huaner. Huaner looked at Duan Lingtian for the first time after hearing Ji Ningyun's words. When she saw Duan Lingtian nodding, she nodded at Ji Ningyun and stepped aside. You have a good daughter. Ji Ningyun nodded at Lin Qiu and the white fox in his arms. She narrowed her eyes and a white holy energy shot out from her body. It was like holy light that enveloped the white fox in Lin Qiu's arms. In the next moment, the white fox's external injuries healed at a speed visible to the naked eye. I've long heard that the law of light is even better than the law of wood when it comes to healing injuries. It seems like the rumors are true. Duan Lingtian sighed inwardly when he saw this. In just half an hour, Ji Ningyun had healed the white fox's external injuries. She had also healed most of its internal injuries. When Ji Ningyun retracted her hand, sweat could be seen dripping down her forehead. However, as soon as she withdrew her hand, the sweat evaporated. Swoosh! At the same time, the white fox in Lin Qiu's arms disappeared. It was replaced by a woman in a white dress who resembled Huaner. Thank you, Fourth Elder. The woman was none other than Du Xian. As soon as she appeared, she thanked Ji Ningyun. Although she was severely injured, she could not communicate with the outside world. She was still aware of what was happening in the outside world. Although she was in Lin Qiu's little world, she was still aware of what was happening in the outside world. All right. Ji Ningyun nodded at Du Xian. Mother. When she saw that Du Xian had transformed into a human and looked exactly the same as when she left, she was very excited. She quickly rushed forward and hugged Du Xian. You've grown up. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. When I left, I was worried that something might have happened to you. However, I had no choice but to leave because I didn't want to see your father one last time. I was selfish. Please don't blame me, all right? Upon seeing the family reunited, Duan Lingtian and Ji Ningyun exchanged a look before they left with Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold. Duan Lingtian, what do you plan to do next? Ji Ningyun asked Duan Lingtian. Not yet. Duan Lingtian shook his head. Then his eyes glinted. However, I'll try my best to break through and become a celestial emperor as soon as possible. Only after he became a celestial emperor would he be able to fuse profundities from the law of space. Otherwise, No matter how heaven-defying a supreme powerhouse's divinity was, he would not be able to fuse profundities from the law of space. If you don't have any plans, you can come to the dragons, Ji Ningyan said with a smile. Then, she glanced at Little Black and Little White who were standing at the side and said, I'm sure these two little fellows want you to come with us to the dragons as well. As soon as Ji Ningyan finished speaking, Little Black and Little White turned to look at Duan Lingtian expectantly. Just as Ji Ningyan had said, Duan Lingtian's words were true. If it was possible, they naturally hoped that Lingtian would come with them to the dragons. Brother Lingtian, come with us. We'll cultivate together. When the spatial tunnel between the Devata realms and the divine offering land opens in 700 years, we'll go and rescue Sister Kerr and Sister Fei, Little White said to Duan Lingtian. Brother Lingtian, if you don't want to go to the dragons, you can come to the Blood Moon Ridge. After all, the Blood Moon Ridge isn't inferior to the dragons. Little Gold giggled. Senior, I appreciate your kindness. However, at this moment, I already have a plan for what to do next. Duan Lingtian was clearly rejecting Ji Ningyan's offer. What's your plan? Ji Ningyan asked curiously. What was his plan that was better than joining the dragons? One had to know that there were countless people who wanted to join the dragon clan. However, this young man did not seem to care about joining the dragons at all. However, when she thought about how this young man was stronger than Little White and Little Black, even though he was not even 300 years old, she was not surprised. Indeed, this young man had the confidence to do so. Moreover, this young man seemed to be the direct successor of Feng Qingyang, the heavenly emperor of the solitary destructive heaven. Purgatory. Duan Lingtian's eyes shone brightly at this moment. Chapter 3350. The Purgatory? Ji Ningyan's eyes widened. She did not expect Duan Lingtian would want to go to such a place. The Purgatory would not appear at any time. The Purgatory would only appear when the spatial passages between the Devata realms and the realms of gods were forcefully sealed. It would appear once every 10,000 years, and each time it appeared, it would last for 1,000 years. This time, the Purgatory had appeared more than 200 years ago. It was said that every 10,000 years, the realms of gods would collide with each other and seal the spatial passages between the Devata realms and the realms of gods. At the same time, the realms of gods would collide and form a realm battlefield. It was a place where people from the realms of gods would most likely die if they entered. The entrance to the realm battlefield was located in the realms of gods. Unless people from the Devata realms had a way to travel to the realms of gods, they would not be able to enter the realm battlefield. Legend had it that the collisions between the realms of gods and the appearance of the realm battlefield were the handiwork of supreme powerhouses. The various fortuitous encounters in the realm battlefield were also left behind by supreme powerhouses. Supreme powerhouses who stood at the peak of heaven and earth usually took pleasure in the realm battlefield. When the realm battlefield appeared in the realms of gods, two similar realm battlefields appeared in the Devata realms as well. They were the Purgatory battlefield and the Nine Serenities battlefield. The Purgatory battlefield was open to celestial lords and below celestial emperors. There were all kinds of fortuitous encounters and fortuitous encounters. One could either obtain fortuitous encounters or exchange military merits for a chance to enter a secret realm. If one had sufficient military merits, one could obtain a chance to enter a secret realm. As for the Nine Serenities battlefield, it was a battlefield for celestial emperors. Many titled celestial emperors would enter the Nine Serenities battlefield to temper themselves and obtain outstanding military merits to become famous in the Devata realms. There were not many titled celestial emperors in the Devata realms, but there were still quite a number of them. However, if a titled celestial emperor wanted to spread his presence in the Devata realms, the Nine Serenities battlefield was undoubtedly the best way to do so. Regardless of whether one entered the Purgatory battlefield or the Nine Serenities battlefield, obtaining a certain amount of military merits could even allow one to obtain a military rank. Military ranks were awarded according to the upper limit of military merits, and not according to the military merits in hand. As long as one had obtained a certain military rank, even if one had used up all of it, the military rank that was originally obtained would still be added to the military merits of the military rank. People with high military ranks even had the opportunity to enter a secret realm every once in a while. That was a gift from the battlefield, whether it's the Purgatory battlefield or the Nine Serenities battlefield. The mastermind is a supreme powerhouse. In the eyes of a supreme powerhouse, whether it's the Purgatory battlefield, the Nine Serenities battlefield, or the realm battlefield in the realms of gods, it's just a game they play when they're bored. This was what the world-cleansing divine water had told Duan Lingtian. The world-cleansing divine water continued to say, the three battlefields are all planned by a group of supreme powerhouses. To them, the things they leave behind in the battlefields are treasures to ordinary people. However, to them, the things they leave behind are no different from trash. They use trash to attract a group of people to enter the battlefields. That's how they enjoy it. As for those extremely powerful experts, due to boredom, they would often gather together and use the people who entered the battlefield as the stakes for their bets. When Duan Lingtian first heard the world-cleansing divine water's words, he was slightly disgusted. After all, he did not like the feeling of being treated like a pawn or a puppet. However, after thinking about it for a while, he felt relieved. Perhaps, when he became a supreme powerhouse, he would also play this game out of boredom. At that time, whether it was celestials or gods, they would be nothing in their eyes. In fact, in the three battlefields, they would only be their toys. If you don't want to be treated like a pawn and be treated like a puppet, you'll have to reach that height yourself. The world-cleansing divine water's words were, without a doubt, a form of motivation for Duan Lingtian. Heaven and earth were merciless and treated all living beings like dogs. However, when one was above heaven and earth, there was no need for one to follow the rules of heaven and earth. Similarly, if one did not want to be treated like a pawn or a toy, one would have to reach the same height as the supreme powerhouses. Do you really plan to enter the Purgatory battlefield? Ji Ningyun said solemnly. Although there are many fortuitous encounters for celestial lords in the Purgatory battlefield, those fortuitous encounters are much better than staying in a heaven-grade force, or even a heavenly emperor's force. However, there are many benefits, and at the same time, the risks are also commensurate. There's only one way to obtain merit points in the Purgatory battlefield, and that's to kill your opponent and obtain their merit points. Although you're strong, and can even injure a titled celestial emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace, I'm sure you won't be able to use that technique every single time. Moreover, there are many titled celestial lords who are comparable to celestial emperors who have died in the Purgatory battlefield. After all, there are many titled celestial lords in the Purgatory battlefield who form small groups to hunt and kill the stronger titled celestial lords. If it's possible, even if you don't want to join the dragons, I hope you can join the Heavenly Palace of the Solitary Destructive Heaven. When Heavenly Emperor Feng Qingyang returns, he'll definitely nurture you as his successor. That way, you'll be able to improve your strength in a short time. Clearly, Ji Ningyun was trying to persuade Duan Lingtian. Senior, you don't have to persuade me. Duan Lingtian shook his head. I've made up my mind. The Purgatory battlefield. Even Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold were shocked by Duan Lingtian's words. They knew about the Purgatory battlefield, but they had never thought of entering it since it was filled with dangers. Many titled celestial lords who were comparable to titled celestial emperors had died in there. Although you have the two Ning dragons, they're celestial emperors. Even if you hide them in your little world, you won't be able to bring them into the Purgatory battlefield. The rules set by the supreme powerhouses won't allow them to enter the Purgatory battlefield. Ji Ningyun continued to say. I don't plan to bring them into the Purgatory battlefield. Duan Lingtian smiled faintly. He had heard about this from the world-cleansing divine water. Even if the two Ning dragons and other celestial emperors were hidden in his little world, he would not be able to bring them into the Purgatory battlefield. However, according to the world-cleansing divine water, it was possible to bring the 5 divine elements into the Purgatory battlefield. Moreover, one could freely use the 5 divine elements' power. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was not afraid of the purgatory battlefield at all. Brother Lingtian, I'll go with you, Little Gold said earnestly to Duan Lingtian, since she knew how dangerous the purgatory battlefield was. At this moment, her usual playfulness was nowhere to be seen. Brother Lingtian, I'll go with you as well, Little White chimed in. I'll go with Brother Lingtian as well, Little Black chimed in as well. Don't the 3 of you know how dangerous the purgatory battlefield is? Why are you joining in the fun? Ji Ningyin retorted. At this moment, she regretted letting Little White and Little Black out. If she had known the person they were looking for was a madman who wanted to enter the purgatory battlefield, she would not have allowed them to look for him. In the history of the dragons, many 9-clawed divine dragons who were titled celestial lords had perished in the purgatory battlefield. 2 of her childhood friends were among the 9-clawed divine dragons. Those 2 childhood friends were a pair of lovers, but in the end, they both died in the purgatory battlefield. Because of this, she was very repulsed by the purgatory battlefield. Not only had she never entered it, but she also didn't want Little White and Little Black to enter it. Both Little White and Little Black were the future hope of the Dragon Clan. After all, they had the potential to evolve into 10-clawed divine dragons. However, Ji Ningyin knew the tempers of these 2 little fellows very well. If she forcefully stopped them, it would only make them more sensitive. For this reason, she looked at Duan Lingtian and said through voice transmission, Duan Lingtian, I really don't think you should enter the purgatory battlefield unless you have the strength to defeat a titled celestial emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace. Otherwise, even if you're strong, it'll be difficult for you to come out alive. In the past, I had 2 childhood friends who were a couple. When they joined forces, their strength was comparable to a titled celestial emperor. Even then, they still died in the purgatory battlefield. The purgatory battlefield is not only dangerous for titled celestial lords, but it's also dangerous to enter the secret realms that contain fortuitous encounters. If you insist on entering the purgatory battlefield, please help me persuade these 3 little fellows. Although Little Gold isn't a member of the dragons, she's still a treasure of the Blood Moon Ridge. If she follows you to the purgatory battlefield, my old man and I won't be able to explain ourselves to the Blood Moon Ridge. As for Little Black and Little White, they're the most likely to evolve into 10-clawed divine dragons. We can't afford to lose them. Ji Ningyin said. Senior, the purgatory battlefield is a fortuitous encounter for me. It's also a fortuitous encounter for Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold. Duan Lingtian said to Ji Ningyin. It was not convenient for him to explain the strength of the 5 divine elements, since he could not use the same strength to defeat Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor of the Heavenly Pool Palace. However, if Little Black and the others wanted to enter the purgatory battlefield, he would not stop them. I'm begging you. What do you think? Ji Ningyin said. This time, it's my old man who saved you. Just treat it as returning the favor. What do you think? Duan Lingtian felt pressured when he heard Ji Ningyin's words through voice transmission. He smiled bitterly and said, Senior, if you insist, what else can I say? Don't worry, leave it to me to persuade them. Duan Lingtian did not expect Ji Ningyin would bring up the matter of Ji Yunyin saving his life. Since the other party had said so, what else could he do? Chapter 3351. The 3 little fellows could be stubborn in front of Ji Ningyin, but it was impossible for them to be stubborn in front of Duan Lingtian. For this reason, they had no choice but to obey Duan Lingtian. However, while they had no choice but to listen, they still had their own insistence. Big Brother Lingtian, I'm worried that you'll be in danger. If we go with you, we'll be able to take care of each other. That way, you won't have to worry about anyone joining forces to deal with you. Brother Lingtian, if the 4th elder asks you to persuade us through voice transmission, you can just deal with her. At most, we'll sneak out to meet you after we return to the purgatory battlefield. Brother Lingtian, I still want to go with you. Duan Lingtian's heart was filled with warmth when he heard the 3 little fellows' voice transmission. Think about it yourselves. Duan Lingtian said to the three little fellows through voice transmission. I won't be leaving the Saint Province realm for the time being. I'll give you 3 years. If you really want to go with me, you can come to the Saint Province realm and look for me within 3 years. Once you're here, we'll set off. Duan Lingtian did not have anything to worry about when it came to the three little fellows. Although they had not seen each other for more than 200 years, he could clearly feel the feelings that the three little fellows had for him. Compared to the past, not only did their feelings for him not fade with the passage of time, but they had become even stronger. Even if the three little fellows knew about the 5 divine elements, they would not harm him. Duan Lingtian knew he would not be in danger when he entered the purgatory battlefield. If the three little fellows were willing to go with him, there would only be benefits and no harm. If he were to be selfish, he hoped the three little fellows would sneak out and enter the purgatory battlefield with him, while he dealt with Ji Ningyin. As expected, when the three little fellows heard Duan Lingtian's voice transmission, a hint of light flashed in the depths of their eyes. They were already tempted. Now, with the indirect support of Duan Lingtian, they no longer needed to hesitate or consider. Before I came to this mundane realm with you, I communicated with the old man via voice transmission. After the matter in the boundless heaven is over, he will return to the dragons. Ji Ningyin looked at Xiao He, Xiao Bai and Xiao Jin and said, So, you can spend some time with your big brother Lingtian. Yes. In order not to arouse Ji Ningyin's suspicion, Little Black, Little White, and Little Gold stayed in the Saint Province realm for a period of time. During this time, they had become close friends with Huan Er. After all, no one disliked Huan Er's character. Even Ji Ningyin got along well with Huan Er. In the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. After exchanging soul pearls with Duan Lingtian, the three little fellows left the Saint Province realm with Ji Ningyin and returned to the Wanshou heaven. Naturally, before they left, they sent messages to Duan Lingtian, telling him they would return soon. Senior Lian Qiu, Senior Du Xian, what do you plan to do next? After the three little fellows left, Duan Lingtian asked Lian Qiu and Du Xian. Since he and Huan Er would be entering the purgatory battlefield soon, he had to make sure Lian Qiu and Du Xian were safe before entering the purgatory battlefield. We plan to stay in the Saint Province realm for a period of time, Du Xian replied. Du Xian looked at Duan Lingtian, as though she was a mother-in-law looking at her son-in-law. She was extremely satisfied. We can only talk about the rest after you return from the purgatory battlefield. Although he and Lian Qiu were aware of the dangers in the purgatory battlefield, they were confident in their abilities. However, they were impressed by Duan Lingtian's confidence. Moreover, Lian Qiu had witnessed Duan Lingtian injuring Lei Ying, the merciless celestial emperor from the Heavenly Pool Palace, a heaven-grade force in the boundless heaven. After all, Lei Ying was not an ordinary titled celestial emperor. Even Lian Qiu did not know how Duan Lingtian managed to injure her. For this reason, they were not worried about Duan Lingtian's safety. Moreover, Duan Lingtian had asked their daughters to wait for him while he entered the Heavenly Pool Palace alone. Based on this, they knew Duan Lingtian would not allow their daughters to follow him into the Heavenly Pool Palace if he was not confident. With this thought in mind, they were even more relieved. All right, Duan Lingtian nodded. In the following days, Huan Er spent most of her time with Du Xian and Lian Qiu. Under Duan Lingtian's lead, they traveled to every corner of the Saint Province realm. During this time, Huan Er would tell them about Duan Lingtian's experiences in the Saint Province realm. It was only at this time that Du Xian and Lian Qiu learned about Duan Lingtian's journey to the Saint Province realm was like a miracle. One of them was born in the Phantom Fox clan, while the other was born in a prominent clan. After he rose to prominence, he joined the Heavenly Sword Mountain and was accepted as a disciple by a titled celestial emperor there. In just a blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. Duan Lingtian did not see Little Black and Little White. Instead, he saw Little Gold. Brother Lingtian, before I sneaked out, I contacted them. They said the Grand Elder and the 4th Elder of the Dragon's clan are keeping a close eye on them. They don't stand a chance at all. Moreover, they don't dare to make any big moves. If they're discovered, they won't be able to escape. Little Gold said to Duan Lingtian. The Grand Elder told us to wait for them for a year. If they don't show up in a year, they won't be able to escape. At that time, we'll go to the purgatory battlefield ourselves. All right. Duan Lingtian nodded. He was happy for Little Black and Little White. Based on the current situation, the Grand Elder of the Dragon's clan valued Little Black and Little White more than he had expected. This was a good thing for both Little Black and Little White. He was happy to see it happen. Then we'll wait for them for a year. Duan Lingtian nodded. However, after a year Little Black and Little White had yet to show up. Little Gold made a trip to the 10,000 Beasts Heaven to confirm that Little Black and Little White were unable to leave. After that, she had no choice but to travel to the purgatory battlefield with Duan Lingtian and Huan. There were entrances to the purgatory battlefield in all Devata realms. However, the exit was not fixed. Usually, one would be teleported to the Devata realm, where they entered the purgatory battlefield. Brother Lingtian, that should be the entrance to the purgatory battlefield, Little Gold said as she looked at Little Gold. In the Jade Emperor territory in the Jade Emperor heaven, Little Gold said to Duan Lingtian, as she looked at the two-story building in front of them. It was Duan Lingtian's idea to use the purgatory battlefield in the Jade Emperor territory. After all, no matter which Devata realm one was in, the purgatory battlefield would be the same. All right. Duan Lingtian, Little Gold, and Duan Lingtian saw many buildings that resembled small altars. Currently, some of the altars were placed on top of the altars. After inscribing their names on the altars, they would be transported away. Brother Lingtian, after we carve our names on these stone altars, we'll be teleported to the purgatory battlefield, Little Gold said to Duan Lingtian. When she was still in the Blood Moon Ridge in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven, she had studied the purgatory battlefield in detail. If there's someone with the same name as you in the Blood Moon Ridge, you won't be able to use your name. After entering the purgatory battlefield, if you kill someone in there, your military merits will be increased. If you want to see your military merits, you'll be able to see the ranking in the purgatory battlefield with just a thought. Of course, apart from your own military merits, you'll only be able to see the top 1,100 people in the purgatory battlefield. Those who are ranked in the top 1,100 will have the military rank of commander. Those who are ranked behind them will have the military rank of lieutenant. As for those who aren't ranked in the top 1,100, they'll only have military merits, but no military rank. Their military ranks are based on the maximum number of military merits they can obtain. Even if they use up all their military merits, their military ranks won't change. Military merits can be exchanged for a chance to enter a secret realm. A large number of military merits can even be exchanged for a chance to enter a secret realm alone. After listening to Little Gold's explanation, Duan Lingtian gained a deeper understanding of the purgatory battlefield. After all, he only knew a little about the purgatory battlefield. It seems like it's possible to enter the purgatory battlefield in groups. At the same time, Duan Lingtian saw groups of 2 or 3 people walking up to the small altars. They wrote down their names at the same time, before they were transported to the purgatory battlefield. It seemed like these people would stay together after entering the purgatory battlefield. Otherwise, why would they choose to enter the purgatory battlefield? Little Gold, they'll appear in the same place after entering the purgatory battlefield, right? Duan Lingtian asked Little Gold. Yes. Little Gold nodded. Then, she smiled and said, there were 1,100 names on the ranking list. If we want to appear in the same place after entering the purgatory battlefield, we'll have to choose the same transportation formation. As long as we don't take more than a breath to finish writing down our names, we'll definitely be transported to the same place. Otherwise, we might make a mistake. Duan Lingtian nodded in realization. Huaner, let's go together. Duan Lingtian and Little Gold went up to one of the stone altars. Then, under Little Gold's guidance, both of them wrote down their names before they were transported to the purgatory battlefield. When Duan Lingtian's vision turned dark and bright, he discovered he was in a gloomy place. This place was shrouded in a layer of fog, blocking one's vision. One could not see too far ahead. Brother Lingtian, Duan Lingtian snapped out of his daze when he heard the duo's voices. He tried to recite the words military merit in his heart. His name and military merit appeared in his mind. Duan Lingtian 1 military merit. Ranking 137, 65th. Apart from that, Duan Lingtian could see a ranking. Chapter 3352. He's ranked 130,000 with only 1 military merit? Duan Lingtian looked at Little Gold with a slight frown on his face. It seems like not many people have entered the Purgatory military merit ranking again. Although the Purgatory battlefield was extremely dangerous, 135th, it was also filled with 500 encounters who had 1,000 military merit unable to become celestial emperors under normal circumstances had entered the Purgatory battlefield. And some of them had more than 1,000 military that allowed them to become titled celestial people emperors. Ranked at the top all some of them had even made a name for themselves. The 20 or so people in front of battlefield all had after becoming titled celestial emperors. The 10 people ranked at the top all had 5,000 celestial lords. The 10 people ranked at the top all had 6,000 points. Naturally, only a few people had accumulated 7,000 military merits. However, only 2 of them had just accumulated 8,000 military merits, and yet the upper limit of 130 is a bottleneck. This meant there were only about 130,000 just like the 2 people who are ranked who had left their names on the 9 Serenities battlefield's their military points show that they have 8,000 points. But in reality, they have already accumulated Little Gold more than shook her head and said with a smile, or even more than 130,000. Little Gold because continued, many people who entered because the Purgatory battlefield and didn't obtain more than 2 military merit points, it's difficult for a group of military merit ranking. Is the test very difficult? From that, if someone didn't enter the Purgatory battlefield for more than 100 years, after obtaining more than you can only pass the test by yourself. Their
Little
names
Gold
would also
said.
be removed
Duan
from the
Lingtian
military
nodded.
merit ranking.
In the purgatory
Most
battlefield,
of these people had broken
the celestial
through to
lords
the
will
celestial
also
emperor
break the
realm
upper limit.
and couldn't
It's
enter
called
the Nine
passing the
Serenities
tribulation.
battlefield.
The
For
upper
some
limit
reason,
is 1,000
they couldn't
points.
enter the Nine
Once they
Serenities
pass the
battlefield
tribulation,
within 100 years.
even if they don't make
if
it
they
into
wanted
the top
to enter
100
the Nine
and become a
Serenities
commander,
battlefield after
they're
100
still
years,
considered a top
they
lieutenant
would have to start all
and
over
can do
again.
whatever they want
Currently,
in the purgatory
we're ranked
battlefield.
130,000.
Their strength is not much
This
weaker
means
than
there
those
are more than
commanders who have
100,000
also broken
people
the
who
upper
obtained
limit
more than 2
and made it
military
into the
merit
top
points
100
in the past
commanders
100
who
years.
have broken the
Do
upper
you still
limit
think
of
the number of
1,000
people is
points
low?
are called
Little
first-class
Gold
commanders
asked with a smile.
Commanders who
Upon
have broken
hearing
the
Little
upper
Gold's
limit of
words,
2,000 points
Duan
are called
Lingtian
second-class
pondered for a moment
commanders,
before
and
realization
so on and
dawned
so
on him.
forth.
If
Commanders
that was the
who have
case,
broken the
then
upper
it
limit
made
of
sense for them to
7,000
be
points
ranked over
are called
130,000
7th-class commanders.
when they had just
Little Gold
entered the
paused for a
purgatory
moment
battlefield.
to allow Duan Lingtian
It was also enough
to
show
digest
how
the
lively the
information before she
purgatory
continued to
battlefield
say.
was.
Rumor
Brother
has it
Lingtian,
that the two
Little
commanders
Gold
are
said.
stronger than
Then
most
she
titled
continued to
celestial
say,
emperors.
among the
A
1,100
level 7
people who are
commander
ranked
is
at the
stronger
top
than
of the
most
military
titled
merit
celestial
ranking.
emperors.
It's not so
Duan
bad for the
Lingtian's
1,000
pupils
people who are
rapidly
ranked at the
constricted
bottom.
as astonishment appeared
However,
on his
without
face.
exception,
Yes,
the first 100
Little
people
Gold nodded.
all relied on their
Then
own
she
strength
smiled
to
wryly
kill their
and
way
said,
up. When I
because
first
from
heard
lieutenant
about this,
to commander,
I was shocked as well.
there's a bottleneck in
After
terms
all,
of military
even a
merits.
7th-class commander
If Big
is a
Brother
10 direction
Lingtian
celestial
paid careful
lord at
attention,
most.
It
No
wouldn't
matter
be
how
difficult to
powerful a
notice
10
that those
direction
ranked
celestial lord is,
135th to
they won't
500th
be able to
place
fuse
on the
profundities.
military merits rankings.
How strong can a
all
10
have the
direction
same
celestial
military
lord
merits.
be?
When
Upon
Duan
hearing Little
Lingtian
Gold's
heard
words,
Little Gold's
Duan
words,
Lingtian
he
nodded
could
in
not help
agreement.
but take another look
However,
at the military merit
Little
ranking.
Gold's eyes glinted
As
she said
expected,
solemnly.
he noticed that among the
celestial lords
1,100
can't be
names
judged
by
by
the
the
standards
standards
of
of
ordinary
ordinary
celestial lords.
There were more than 400 people who
This
had the
is
same
because some
military
celestial
merit
lords
ranking,
have heaven-defying
starting from the
abilities.
135th
For example,
place. The legendary
this is
5
because
divine
they
elements
haven't passed
and
the
other
advancement
heaven-defying
test of the
techniques.
purgatory battlefield.
Among them,
In the
celestial
purgatory
lords who
battlefield,
possess high
when a
level
person
5 divine
accumulates
elements are the
1,000
strongest.
points,
The
there
5
will be a
divine
bottleneck.
elements.
Only
Duan
by passing the
Lingtian was
purgatory
shocked when he heard
battlefield's
Little Gold
advancement
mention
test
the 5
can
divine
their
elements.
military points be
There were
raised to
celestial
2,000
lords who
points.
possessed the 5
What
divine
determines
elements
the
in the
ranking is the
purgatory
upper limit.
battlefield?
If
Little
you don't
Gold
break the
continued
upper
to
limit,
say, no
for
matter how
example,
many people
the
you
two
kill in the
commanders who
purgatory
have broken the
battlefield,
upper limit of
you won't be able
7,000
to
points
continue
aren't ordinary
accumulating
celestial
military
lords.
merits.
In fact,
you can only obtain
ordinary
military
celestial
merits in
lords aren't
exchange
even
for a
capable
chance
of
to
breaking
enter
the
the
upper
secret
limit
territory.
of 4,000 points or 5,000 points. Even if a titled celestial lord has comprehended all the profundities from a law to the mastery stage, it's still not enough for him to break through the 1,000 military merit points limit. Unless he's not a human, but some other life form with other powerful techniques. Duan Lingtian thought to himself. For example, celestial beasts like me, Little Black and Little White. Of course, if Little Black, Little White, and I have comprehended all the profundities from the law of heaven to the mastery stage, and become 10 directions celestial lords, with our strength, it's possible for us to surpass the 2,000 merit points limit. However, I'm afraid only divine beasts like Huan can break the upper limit of 3,000 points. Little Gold looked at Huan, who was standing next to Duan Lingtian, after she finished speaking. Little Gold continued to say, as for the upper limit, it's impossible for a non-human to break the upper limit, unless one possesses the 5 divine elements or other similar techniques. Little Gold's eyes shone brightly. Little Gold's eyes lit up. For example, on the purgatory battlefield's military contribution ranking, most people suspect that they have the 5 divine elements in them. In fact, many people are trying to find out who they are so they can steal the 5 divine elements. However, it's almost impossible to find out who they are unless they're stupid enough to use their real names. After all, those who possess the 5 divine elements won't use their real names. Under such circumstances, it's impossible to find them outside the purgatory battlefield. As for those in the purgatory battlefield, how many of them are afraid of the 5 divine elements? The purgatory battlefield is their home, and they can use the power of the 5 divine elements as they wish. Moreover, in this purgatory battlefield, as long as you think transform, you can transform into a different appearance. No matter if it's the appearance or the aura, it will undergo tremendous changes. No one can recognize you. Almost as soon as Xiao Jin's voice fell, her entire body had turned into a tall and sturdy stone person, with a huge body. Duan Lingtian was still in a daze when Little Gold said softly, Dispel the transformation. Little Gold returned to her original form immediately. The 5 divine elements. Upon hearing Little Gold's words, Duan Lingtian could not help but ask the world-cleansing divine water in his little world. However, water, if it's an
why didn't you
form
tell me
5
this
divine
earlier?
element,
You didn't
it'll
ask
be
me to
difficult
enter the
for us to
purgatory
deal with
battlefield,
it, even if we
just
join
so I
forces.
could obtain some
If
fortuitous
we're lucky, we'll be
encounters,
fine.
right?
At
You
this
wanted
point,
to use this
the
opportunity to
world-cleansing
upgrade
divine
your
water's
form,
voice
as
turned
well as
grave.
theirs, right?
Once we're annihilated,
At this moment,
you'll definitely
Duan
be killed by the
Lingtian
person
finally
who
understood
possesses
the
the
world
8th cleansing
form of
divine
the
water's
divine
intention.
Yes.
Naturally,
I
there
didn't
might
tell
not
you
be anyone
earlier
in the
because I didn't
purgatory
want you to
battlefield
overthink
who
it.
possesses an
The
8th
world
form
cleansing
5 divine water
element.
replied. Then she added,
No matter what,
however,
you still have a
I
chance
can
to
only
regret
say
your
that there might
decision.
not be anyone
After
in the
all,
purgatory
there are
battlefield
many
who
people in the
possesses an
purgatory
8th form 5
battlefield
divine
who
element.
possess a form of the
Duan
5
Lingtian's
divine
eyes
elements.
glinted as he looked
If
at
we
Huan
join
and
forces,
Little Gold and said,
we might be able to
Huan
deal
or
with
Little
the
Gold,
7th
let's
form
go.
5 divine element. Chapter 3354. This time, Duan Lingtian did not use his real name. Instead, he changed his name to Xia Feiwu. Xia Feiwu was named after Ke, a member of the Xia clan in the Divine Offering Land. As for Fei, it was a homonym for Li Fei's Fei. As for Wu, it was a homonym for Feng Tianwu's Wu. As for Huan she changed her name to Du Tianling. Naturally, her original surname was Lian after her father's surname.
She changed her surname to Du, which was the same as her mother's surname. As for Tian Ling, it was a homonym for Ling Tian. As for Little Gold, she changed her name to Jean Yu. Her surname was Jean, and her surname was Yu from Blood Moon Ridge, a heaven-grade force in the 10,000 Beasts Heaven. After all, Little Gold could be considered a member of Blood Moon Ridge. Xiafeiwu, Du Tianling and Jean Yu, Duan Ling Tian, Huan and Huan entered the purgatory battlefield again under their pseudonyms. Their previous rankings had been erased. Naturally, even if they were not erased, no one would be able to see them except for the supreme experts. Of course, even if the ultimate powerhouses were the ones in charge of this game, it was basically impossible for them to look at those at the bottom of the rankings. Let's change our appearances as well, Duan Lingtian said to Huan and Little Gold. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian transformed into a young man who was about 16 or 17 years old. He was dressed in a snow-white robe. He had a handsome appearance and an extraordinary temperament. It was as though he was a young scholar who had walked out of a painting. He was completely different from the previous him. At the same time, Huaner also transformed into a young girl in a long white dress. She looked to be about 15 or 16 years old. Although she did not have the peerless elegance, she was still very cute and delicate. As for Xiao Jin, she simply transformed into a little girl wearing a light yellow dress. She looked no more than 10 years old, and had 2 small braids on her head. She was delicate and cute. Haha, even if Little Black and Little White are here, they won't be able to recognize us. Little Gold laughed. Of course, you've changed so much. Duan Lingtian also shook his head with a smile, and then said, in the future, let's communicate via voice transmission as much as possible. This was to prevent him from inadvertently revealing information about his original identity. Unless we can ensure the death of all those who have discovered traces of our original identities, there is still a potential threat. Yes, we'll communicate via voice transmission in the future. Xiao Jin responded. As for Huan she naturally had no objections. Little Gold. In this purgatory battlefield, military exploits are awarded. Whoever kills the person gets the military exploits. Duan Lingtian remembered that Xiao Jin had mentioned this before. Yes, Xiao Jin replied. Whoever kills the person gets the military merit. Even if you want to give the military merit, it's best to injure the person to the point where he's on the verge of death, and let someone else finish him off. Only then can the latter get the military merit. Otherwise, even if you leave after killing them, the military merit will still be yours. Xiao Jin sent a voice transmission to further confirm. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. In just a blink of an eye, it had been a month since Duan Lingtian, Huan and Xiao Jin entered the purgatory battlefield. However, during this month, they had only encountered a few people. Moreover, their opponents did not have much military merit. Although they were all killed by Duan Lingtian's ranking did not increase by much. In fact, he did not even enter the top 100,000. Little Gold, let's head to the purgatory of myriad changes. Duan Lingtian said to Xiao Jin. The purgatory of myriad changes was located at the center of the purgatory battlefield. However, since the main branch of the divine tree of life in Duan Lingtian's body had absorbed its master, the only divine tree of life in the ruins of a realm of gods, it wanted to leave the ruins of a realm of gods as well. That was why it was willing to reside in Duan Lingtian's body with the other 5 divine elements. Moreover, at that time, she could only be considered as a latecomer. There might not be any 8th form 5 divine elements in the purgatory battlefield. Duan Lingtian said with a smile. Even if there is, so what? Don't tell me that I can't kill its host before it attacks the divine elements in my body? Without its master, it'll lose its master. At most, it'll be able to protect itself, but it won't be able to devour the 5 divine elements in my body. Duan Lingtian's eyes flashed coldly when he finished speaking. He had told the world-cleansing divine water about this before. Naturally, it would be very dangerous for him to encounter such a situation. He did not make it sound as casual as he made it sound. Not only did he want to comfort Xiao Jin, but he also wanted to comfort Huan This was because he could feel Huan Er's grip on his arm tighten. She was clearly worried about his safety. How could he tell the truth under such circumstances? I'll deal with whatever comes my way. I, Duan Lingtian, have never faced any difficulties before. Dangers? Fortune comes with danger. If anyone wants to kill me, they'll have to be prepared to die. At this moment, Duan Lingtian's eyes were filled with determination. Purgatory of myriad transformations. With just a thought, the purgatory of myriad transformations would appear in one's mind. It was similar to the teleportation points. Moreover, the closer one got to the purgatory of myriad transformations, the stronger the feeling of being guided. Duan Lingtian, Huan Er, and Little Gold had been discussing this with each other. For this reason, the stronger the feeling, the more cautious they became. At the same time, in only a few days, they had already killed more than 10 people. This was even more than the number of people they had killed in the previous month. This should be the purgatory of myriad transformations. All of a sudden, Duan Lingtian discovered that the dark wasteland he was in had suddenly transformed into a world filled with the color of blood. It was no longer a wasteland but a mountain range. The towering mountains and steep ridges were covered in blood, as if they were dyed in blood. Brother Lingtian, there seems to be more than one person over there. Xiao Jin's gaze soon fell on the side of the mountain range, behind a mountain that was neither too high nor too low. As a top-notch immortal beast, and a rodent immortal beast, Xiao Jin had a sense of smell that was different from ordinary immortal beasts, and even divine beasts. Upon hearing this, Duan Lingtian turned to look. At this moment, a surprised voice rang from the mountain peak in the distance. We've been discovered. Brother Xian, that little girl doesn't seem human. Let alone humans, even ordinary celestial beasts won't be able to discover us. She must be a non-human with a keen sense of smell. As soon as the voices rang in the air, 4 figures appeared from behind the mountain peak. They were 4 young men dressed in identical green robes. Even their appearances were identical. Naturally, in the purgatory battlefield, even if they looked identical, it did not mean they were twins. They could use the purgatory battlefield's illusory technique to disguise themselves. Upon closer inspection, one could see the subtle differences between the 4 young men. Consider yourself unlucky to have encountered the 4 of us. One of the young men said with a grin before he took the lead and stepped out. The other 3 also stepped into the air and followed him like shadows. Only by resolving these problems will we be able to pass through the myriad phenomenon formation. Moreover, it's impossible to break the myriad phenomenon formation. The world-cleansing divine water replied in a timely manner. Duan Lingtian opened the pill bottle and discovered there were 10 majestic pills inside. He gave 3 to Huan Er before he looked at Little Gold and asked, Little Gold, how long will it take to absorb the medicinal efficacy of these majestic pills? Brother Lingtian, I'm afraid my limit will stop at 3,000 merit points. With my foundation, I won't be able to break the 3,000 merit points limit. Little Gold had told Duan Lingtian about this when they first entered the purgatory battlefield. For this reason, Duan Lingtian was prepared for this. Huan Er, on the other hand, did not have to worry about it. After all, she was a divine beast. Let's consume the celestial fruits and celestial pills we've obtained to improve our cultivation bases. Little Gold, you should strive to become a 10 Directions Celestial Lord. At that time, you might be able to break the 3,000 merit points limit. Duan Lingtian said to Huan Er and Little Gold. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the 3 of them entered a state of frenzied cultivation. During this time, Little Gold was shocked by the heaven and earth spirit energy in Duan Lingtian's little world. Brother Lingtian, after cultivating with you, I don't want to return to Blood Moon Ridge anymore.
Chapter 3361. You're quite perceptive. You can tell I'm a divine beast. Upon hearing Duan Lingtian's words, the middle-aged man looked at Duan Lingtian in surprise. Then, he sneered disdainfully and said, "Although I think you're exaggerating, since you're so eager to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Almost as soon as the middle-aged man finished speaking, his body suddenly shook. Then, a huge shadow condensed around his body and finally completely solidified. It was as though the middle-aged man had completely disappeared at this moment. All that was left was a completely blue, crystal-clear beast. Based on its appearance, it was somewhat similar to the white tiger in the ancient myths and legends on Earth in Duan Lingtian's previous life. However, it was even more ferocious. As soon as the middle-aged man reverted to his true form, Little Gold's face turned slightly pale. Then, a silhouette of her true form appeared behind her to resist the middle-aged man's aura. A divine beast had the aura of a divine beast. Swoosh! At the same time, the silhouette of 1,000 phantoms ice fox appeared behind Huan. Both Little Gold and Huan did not summon their true forms. Instead, they summoned their true forms on their own accord due to the pressure from the divine beast's aura. The blue tiger-type divine beast had a powerful body and a pair of sharp eyes. It looked at Little Gold disdainfully before it shifted its gaze to Huan. "I didn't expect to encounter 1,000 phantoms ice fox here." A turquoise water divine tiger. Huan, who had seen the divine beast's true form, confirmed it was a divine beast through her inherited memories. The turquoise water divine tiger was a divine beast that only appeared once every 100,000 years in the Devata realm's White Tiger clan. It was as famous as the Dragon clan's Tin-clawed divine dragon. Both of them were divine beasts that specialized in killing, unlike the 1,000 phantoms ice fox who specialized in illusory techniques. In terms of offensive techniques, the 1,000 phantoms ice fox was at most comparable to top celestial beasts that specialized in killing. "Both of you can come at me together." A blue energy surged out of the turquoise water divine tiger's body. At the same time, a painting appeared above its head and slowly unfurled. The painting emitted an ancient aura, emitting an oppressive aura. Even an emperor-grade celestial weapon with an artifact spirit did not have such an aura. Divine artifact. At this moment, it was not difficult for Duan Lingtian and his two companions to recognize the scroll was a divine weapon. Little Gold exclaimed in surprise. "This is one of the two divine artifacts of the White Tiger clan. The divine water diagram. I didn't expect the White Tiger clan to give this divine artifact to you when you haven't even become a celestial emperor." The White Tiger clan was also a heaven-grade force. However, their main base was not in the 10,000 Beasts heaven, but in another Devata realm. After all, the White Tiger clan was one of the more powerful heaven-grade forces in the Devata realms. They were as famous as the Dragon clan. For this reason, Little Gold had heard about the White Tiger clan and the two guardian divine weapons of the White Tiger clan in Blood Moon Ridge. The White Tiger clan's two great clan guarding divine artifacts. One of them was the Jade Water Diagram. It was said to be able to store all rivers in the world. Once it launched an attack, it would be continuous and unstoppable, possessing boundless power. "You're quite knowledgeable." The turquoise water divine tiger glanced at Little Gold indifferently. A hint of surprise could be heard in his voice. "The White Tiger clan is really secretive. I've never heard of a turquoise water divine tiger appearing in the White Tiger clan. However, it's understandable. After all, the White Tiger clan wants you to grow stronger, so that you won't be harmed by your opponents." The purple-clothed youth's figure seemed extremely small in front of this world-destroying azure energy. Because he was so small, he was drowned by the azure light in the blink of an eye. He was like a lone boat capsized in the middle of the ocean, unable to withstand a single blow from the raging waves. Just when the turquoise water divine tiger thought he had won, swoosh!
A rainbow-colored speck of light suddenly flashed in this azure world. It was like a star that wanted to compete with the entire world for glory. Chapter 3362. This is. Under the turquoise water divine tiger's astonished gaze, the 7 colored specks of light that appeared in the azure senior sister, under his control, started to expand even more rapidly. In the beginning, it was only a small speck of light. Then, it grew larger and larger until it was the size of a baby's fist. It continued to grow larger and larger. No, we can't let him turn the tables. The turquoise water divine tiger's eyes turned cold as he called out to the world cleansing divine water in his body. In just a blink of an eye, the turquoise water divine tiger's divine weapon, the divine water diagram, shone brightly as a vast energy poured down like the Milky Way. In just a blink of an eye, the 7-colored speck of light dimmed significantly. Sister Water, it's done. Duan Lingtian, who was surrounded by the 7-colored sword chi, smiled faintly as he called out to the world cleansing divine water in his little world. The world cleansing divine water had been waiting for this moment. Although the turquoise water divine tiger was also in its 7th form, the turquoise water divine tiger was a divine beast. Moreover, the world cleansing divine water had been in the turquoise water divine tiger's body ever since it was in its mother's womb. For this reason, the turquoise water divine tiger and the world cleansing divine water could borrow each other's strength. Moreover, the world cleansing divine water could borrow each other's strength without affecting the other party too much. However, even if it did not affect the other party too much, it would still affect the other party. Old Flame, lend me a hand. As for the 3 of you, do your best to help little Tian kill the turquoise water divine tiger. After the world cleansing divine water called out to the chaos divine flame, it turned to the profound divine metal, the clear sky divine wood, and the chaos divine earth and said, "Let's see who can kill the turquoise water divine tiger first." As soon as the world cleansing divine book finished speaking, the 7-colored sword chi on Duan Lingtian's body grew even brighter. No matter how hard the turquoise water divine tree tried to suppress it, it still shone brightly. At this moment, the turquoise water divine tiger was shocked to discover that the 7-colored sword chi was too powerful. The 7-colored light was too powerful. There was no way to suppress it. Go. Duan Lingtian's eyes turned cold as the 7-colored sword chi shot toward the turquoise water divine tiger like a phantom. Even though this azure world was controlled by the turquoise water divine tiger, it still couldn't stop him from advancing. Seeing this, the turquoise water divine tiger's pupil shrank. A trace of panic flashed in the depths of his eyes, but he quickly suppressed it. Condense. As the turquoise water divine tiger narrowed his eyes, a boundless power swept out from his body. It was like a domain, enveloping the azure world in the blink of an eye. In the next moment, the azure world gradually dissipated. More accurately speaking, all of the azure energy in this azure world had been enveloped by the jade water divine tree's energy, compressed, and stored in the jade water divine tiger's mouth. The turquoise water divine tiger opened its gaping maw, and bright blue energy converged to form an energy ball that looked as if it could explode at any moment. Bright blue lightning crackled around it. Whoosh! The rainbow-colored sword light flew out and sliced through the air. It was especially dazzling in the dusky world, like a ray of light in the darkness. Roar! In the face of the rainbow-colored sword light, the turquoise water divine tiger let out a deafening roar. In an instant, the entire world was filled with the turquoise water divine tiger's roar. The void trembled, and terrifying spatial ripples rippled through the void. Following that, Little Gold's bloodline power surged. Big brother Ling Tian Huaner, protect me. I want to see if I can use the turquoise water divine tiger's power to break through my bloodline shackles and evolve into a divine beast. Little Gold's voice rang in Duan Lingtian and Huaner's ears again. If I can evolve into a divine beast, I'll be able to become a 9-depths god-slaying rat. At that time, I'll be able to do whatever I want in Blood Moon Ridge. I'll smash the Blood Moon Ridge Master's treasures, and he won't dare to punish me. At the end of Xiao Jin's words, There was some yearning and anticipation. With the painting of the divine water, and the world-cleansing divine water, who would be a match for him? No matter what, Bai Ning is dead. Bai Ning is the hope of the White Tiger clan. If he becomes a celestial emperor in the future, and comprehends the fused profundities, he'll definitely be able to lead the White Tiger clan to the top of the Wanderlust heaven. Damn it! If I find out who killed Bai Ning, I'll tear that person into a million pieces and burn their bones to ashes. The high-ranking officials of the White Tiger clan were furious. They were furious and helpless at the same time. If Bai Ning had died in the purgatory battlefield, the chances of them finding the murderer were close to zero. We still have to investigate this matter. This matter is too suspicious. The patriarch of the White Tiger race said in a low voice. Maybe Bai Ning didn't send a message to the seventh elder when he left the purgatory battlefield and forgot? That's right. We have to investigate this matter. Although the White Tiger clan knew their chances were slim, this matter concerned Bai Ning's death, and the painting of the divine water, the clan's most treasured divine artifact. It was impossible for Bai Ning to come back to life. However, if they could find out who killed Bai Ning, there was still a chance for them to retrieve the painting of the divine water. Naturally, Bai Ning was more important to the White Tiger clan than the painting of the divine water. However, now that Bai Ning was dead, the painting of the divine water was still the top priority of the White Tiger clan. Avenging Bai Ning was secondary. After all, even if they avenged Bai Ning would not come back to life. In the Wanderlust Heaven's Wanderlust territory, the powerhouses of the White Tiger clan began to investigate. Naturally, Duan Ling Tian was unaware of all this, and it was impossible for him to know. Even if he knew, he would not care. No one would know he was the one who killed Bai Ning, unless he admitted it himself. Time flew by like a white steed flitting by a crack. In just a blink of an eye, another 10 years had passed. In the purgatory battlefield, Duan Lingtian and Huaner were still guarding Little Gold. And now, the bloodline power around Little Gold's body had condensed into a blood-red cocoon-like thing that wrapped around it. Duan Lingtian and Huaner had no idea what was going on inside the cocoon. All they knew was that they had to protect Little Gold until it came out of closed-door cultivation. Over the past 10 years, many people had come to their doorsteps to be killed by Duan Lingtian and Huaner. Among these people, there were some who possessed the 5 divine elements. Naturally, they were only low-level 5 divine elements. Even so, with enough divine elements, some of the 5 divine elements in Duan Lingtian's body had successfully transformed into the 8th form. The Chaos Divine Flame was the first to evolve to the 8th form. Now that the Chaos Divine Flame had evolved to the 8th form, it was much more helpful to Duan Lingtian than before. In fact, it could even form a fire clone and stay outside for a while. Naturally, it could not stray too far away from Duan Lingtian. Sister Water, you're very knowledgeable. Do you know about Little Gold's current situation? Is it possible for her to evolve into a divine beast? Duan Lingtian asked the world-cleansing divine water curiously. In his opinion, the world-cleansing divine water had followed the divine tree of life in a realm of gods for many years. It was only natural that it was knowledgeable. Based on the current situation, it's very likely. The world-cleansing divine water replied. After all, 10 years have passed. If it fails, it won't be possible for it to last so long. Sister Water, when Little Gold comes out of closed-door cultivation, I'll leave the purgatory battlefield. The dragon's arena occupied a vast area. Many people were already sparring with one another. Some were sparring in their human forms while others were in their true forms. For this reason, not only were the sounds of people sparring, but the dragon's roars could also be heard from time to time. Duan Lingtian, Huaner, you're here. The 4th elder of the dragons, Ji Ningyun, appeared not long after Duan Lingtian, and Huaner arrived at the arena. Duan Lingtian quickly greeted her. Senior, did you really go to the purgatory battlefield? Ji Ningyun asked. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded. We just came out. Little Gold. Did she go as well? Jininyan asked again. Yes. Duan Lingtian nodded again. It seems like Little Gold has gained a lot in the purgatory battlefield. Otherwise, she wouldn't have come to the dragons to spar with Little White as soon as she returned. Jininyan shook her head and smiled when she saw Little White and Little Gold hovering above the arena. Although she had guessed Little Gold must have gained a lot in the purgatory battlefield, she did not regret not letting Little White and Little Black go with her. She subconsciously felt that even if Little Gold had improved more than Little Black and Little White during this period of time, it would not be much better. Mother. Soon after, another figure appeared in front of Duan Lingtian. It was a valiant woman who addressed Jininyan, the fourth elder of the dragons, as mother. Duan Lingtian immediately guessed the woman's identity. She was the fourth elder of the dragons, Ji Xiang. Previously, when Duan Lingtian reunited with Little Black, Little White and Little Gold, he learned from the three little ones how they came to the Wanshou heaven. Little Gold was taken away by Meng Yao from Blood Moon Ridge, a heaven-grade force in the Wanshou heaven. Little Black and Little White were taken away by Ji Xiang, the youngest elder of the dragons in the Wanshou heaven. Ji Xiang was the only daughter of Ji Yunyan, the first elder of the dragons, and Ji Ningyan, the fourth elder of the dragons. She could be said to be the crown prince of the younger generation in the dragons. Xiang this is Duan Lingtian and Huan Duan Lingtian and Ji Xiang greeted each other after Ji Ningyan introduced them. Ji Xiang seemed to have expected Huan reticence and did not show any displeasure. Duan Lingtian, it seems like Little Gold has improved a lot. She actually wants to spar with Little White. In the past, she lost to Little White many times, but she refused to spar with Little White. Ji Xiang shook her head and smiled. At this time, her gaze also fell on the two women who were standing in the air above the arena. A woman wearing a snow-white robe and a woman wearing a golden robe stood facing each other. Little Gold isn't here to spar with Little White. Duan Lingtian shook his head and smiled when he heard Ji Xiang's words. Ji Xiang and Ji Ningyan were stunned by Duan Lingtian's words. But Duan Lingtian continued to say, "She's here to spar with Little Black and Little White." Yes, she wants to fight Little Black and Little White at the same time. As soon as Duan Lingtian finished speaking, Ji Ningyan and Ji Xiang fell into a daze. They did not regain their senses for a long time. Little Black, why are you still standing there? Hurry up and join forces with Little White to spar with me. It's unfair for me to spar with Little White alone. You join forces with her. It was only when Little Gold's voice rang in their ears that they snapped out of their daze. Little Gold, even if you had a fortuitous encounter in the purgatory battlefield, don't you think you're too arrogant? Xiao Jin's words caused Little Bai, who had always had a good temper, to become a little angry. Don't forget, in the past, you were my defeated opponent. However, before she could say anything, Xiao He had already moved out immediately after hearing Duan Lingtian's words, and joined forces with Little White to fight against Little Gold. However, even if Little Gold did not transform into its true form, she was still evenly matched with Little White and Xiao He, who had transformed into its true form. Awesome! Awesome! Little Gold, who was now fighting to her heart's content with her two companions, could not help but laugh heroically like a heroine. After this laughter, there was also a sense of relief. In the past, she had never been able to defeat either Xiao He or Little White. Every time her strength increased, she thought that she could defeat Xiao He and Little White, but the latter's strength also increased by a lot. In the end, she was still not a match for the latter. Until today, she was not at a disadvantage when fighting against two people alone. Moreover, she had yet to transform into her true form. Little Gold, how did you become so strong all of a sudden? When Little White, who had transformed into her true form, spoke again, her voice was filled with shock and disbelief. Her eyes were filled with disbelief. She knew Little Gold's strength very well. What exactly had happened in the past few decades that allowed Xiao Jin to possess such strength? Purgatory battlefield. Little Gold said proudly. Purgatory battlefield? Little White was stunned. Xiao He, transform into your true form. At this moment, the fourth elder of the dragons, Ji Ningyan, spoke again to Xiao He. Xiao He also realized that if he did not transform into his true form, it would be difficult for him to defeat Little Gold, even if he joined forces with Little White, who had transformed into her true form. Upon hearing Ji Ningyan's words, he no longer hesitated and transformed into his true form. He was a 9-clawed demon dragon that was covered in black dragon scales. His entire body was shrouded in black fog, and he had a murderous aura. It was a stark contrast to Little White's pure and holy true form. You transformed into your true form? Little Gold's eyes lit up when she saw Little Gold transforming into her true form. However, she did not transform into her true form, as she wanted to fight Xiao He and Little White, who had transformed into their true forms. However, after a while Little Gold was at a disadvantage. Forget it. I don't want to play with you anymore. Little Gold laughed. Now let's end this. As soon as she finished speaking, Little Gold finally transformed into her true form under Little Black and Little White's shocked gazes. Moreover, it was a form that Little Black and Little White had never seen before. It was a huge rat that was as big as a mountain. Its entire body was covered in dark golden fur, and its sharp claws gleamed coldly. Its eyes were bloodshot as it appeared before everyone's eyes. Xiao He, take this. The huge rat suddenly opened its mouth and called out to the 9-clawed demon dragon that was descending.